I'm Shaq, and I'm so excited and thrilled to discuss a topic that's essential for any forward thinking workplace. How do we stop wasting human wisdom in our workplaces? Today, I am joined by none other than LinkedIn top voice and founder of Kickstart, Ali Uren. Ali is known for her innovative approach to stopping brain drain and unlocking human potential through her model, the circular workplace. Her work has helped over 200 purpose led brands leverage wisdom, solve capability gaps, and turn challenges into opportunities. Ali, without further ado, welcome to my LinkedIn Live session. We are so glad to have you with us. How are you today?
Well, thank you so much, Shaq. It's great to be here. I'm dialing in from slightly cloudy Tasmania, Australia. And I feel very excited to be with you and all your guests from around the world. So I'm looking forward to a great, robust discussion.
Oh, that's awesome. How's the weather there in Tasmania? Is it hot?
Look, not at the moment. We moved here because it's a much cooler climate. We were on the mainland, but it was too hot. So we moved to the island, the small island of Tasmania in the middle of a pandemic at the end of 2020. And the weather is just, beautiful wildlife, beautiful wilderness, but just much more friendlier weather-wise. So it's pretty mild at the moment. It's pretty mild, which I'm happy for.
Okay, well, that's great. That's awesome, actually. That's so good. Okay, so people who are listening to us, could you please put in where you're tuning in from, and if you're able to hear us all okay? Could you tell us where you're from, and could you tell us if you are able to hear us or not? And also, if you've got any questions, you are welcome to put them down below, and I would be happy to put them across to Ali, and she's going to answer all your questions. So make sure that you use this opportunity to ask any questions you've got. Okay, so let's dive in into the session,
Let's
Ali.
do this.
Could you start? Could you start by sharing your journey? What inspired you to create the circular workplace, and why tapping into human wisdom is so critical for today's organizations?
Thank you. Thanks, Shaq. So we'll go back and I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown on my career. And I actually started not in learning and development, but in communications and marketing and advertising and branding. And for me, I started in that industry after university. I knew that it was probably not going to be a long-term career for me. I always wanted to work and create my own brand. But I learned a lot about servicing of people and brand and how it shows up in storytelling. I then moved into learning and development, did further studies, and it was really there that I saw a gap in not just in content and skills and what we're actually educating and building capability in, but what we actually do with those skills when people have actually got them and go back into the workplace. And we weren't doing particularly well. We were either facilitating skills that were out of date, that were no longer relevant, and then we weren't creating the environments and conditions for people to take those skills and actually do something purposeful with them. And so for me, I created the company. I saw a gap and I saw a need to create a different type of not only content, but also experience around how people would fully utilize that. And that's how Kickstart was born back in 2008, all those years ago. And that's how the circular workplace has evolved from that as a personalised approach that organisations own. It's not about me owning it as the expert. It's about the people owning it as well. So that we have to capture that wisdom. We are losing not only growth opportunities from a people perspective, but from a commercial perspective too. So we are leaving, I think, as organisations, a lot of opportunity on the table because we're not thinking about that piece that happens once people get skills and start to come back into the workplace after they've acquired them. What happens next? And that's not done particularly well. The circular workplace helps fill a much needed space for that.
Okay. Well, that's it's inspiring to see how the circular workplace addresses one of the core issues in modern workplaces, giving wisdom the place it deserves. It's clear that this model does more than just address brain drain. It
Correct.
truly redefines how we think about knowledge and experience within organizations. Now, moving forward, I would want to ask you, Ali. One of the primary focuses is helping purpose-driven brands leverage entrepreneurial thinking to fill capability gaps and manage risks. What do you think this entrepreneurial approach is so effective? Why do you think that it's effective, and how does it specifically address and de-risk the brain drain issue?
Mm. So let's go back. Let's go back and actually define what we mean by brain drain. So you'll have traditional definitions of brain drain, yeah, which will be, people leaving not only organisations but countries and taking their talent and their skill and their experience with them, right? But when I'm coming from my perspective around creating environments of continuous learning and wisdom capturing and leveraging that, I'm looking at brain drain as those environments where there are no processes and systems to actually play and experiment with knowledge and skill, and that there is actually no way to be able to continually keep reflecting on what's happening as well. So brain drain, what tends to happen is that when people are either resigning, retiring, leaving those organisations, there is no
Yeah.
system or process. Yeah, and you'd see it. You've been around, Jack, to actually capture that. And so then companies are in this flurry, right, of, oh, quick, try and do a half, effort in terms of a handover. That's not adequate today. That doesn't cut, right? So for me, the entrepreneurial thinking is absolutely critical. And I'll tell you why it is, because, and we'll talk more about it in some of the questions later, but entrepreneurial thinking requires you to shift your mindset, right? So in my work, one of the reasons why it has been successful, and when you've been in business long enough and you've done some of those complex projects, you get a feel for where the trends, where are the things, what's making this work, why is that? And one of them is that you reject the premise that
Mhm.
opportunities come from only focusing on strengths. Now, strengths matter, but strengths aren't going to solve every problem or challenge that you're going to face. So the circular workplace and entrepreneurial thinking is key to that, because it allows us to think differently about the gaps
Mhm.
and the threats and the risks that we have
Exactly.
been avoiding. Yeah. That is if someone said to me, what is it? There's so many elements, but it's taking the fear out of what we don't want to talk about, what we've been told to ignore. No, we're not capable of talking about that. So we're just going to focus on, what we're great at. And that's cool. You can do that. But that only takes you so far. There's all these other opportunities and challenges and problems that only will be durably solved, right? So ongoing, when you actually have a process, an approach, an environment that isn't fearful of gaps and threats and risk and can do something with that. And that's the basis of how I view that entrepreneurial skill set that is delivered and embedded into the circular workplace and embedded into the approach. So it's critical. Think about it, right? We are living in complex times, Shaq. We're not living
Exactly.
in simple environments, right, where we know what's going to come to us. They are complex, which means that our ability to think and how we actually design workplaces and how we show up and connect every day needs to be evolving with it.
Exactly. 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 Yes, we are living in different times. We are definitely living in different times with the revolution of AI, and many things are happening around the world.
Yep.
And yeah, absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Adopting an entrepreneurial mindset seems to empower teams to think beyond their immediate roles and look at problems with proactive, solution-oriented perspective.
Correct. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in one of the questions around, a startup mentality, right? And I'm going to talk a bit about, when we get to that point, around why have that? What does that look like? And I have worked with really well established global brands around that notion of having a startup mindset and why it's critical to being able to take those two hard challenges. So we're going to come to that, but we owe it to our people. The world doesn't need another nice, neat set of just technical skills. It needs
Yeah.
something further around that, which actually starts to develop people, as you referred to actually think and respond differently, not just as individuals, but as connected teams as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, that's a powerful approach, Ali. Now, we all encounter challenges that feel overwhelming or even too hard to tackle. But you often talk about turning these tough challenges into genuine opportunities. Could you tell us more about the type of workplace culture that best supports this shift and how
Yeah.
leaders can start creating this resilience?
Mm. So actually, good timing around that. I just did a post yesterday around the types of brands, cultural characteristics that work best, that leverage this approach, yeah, that are most suited to it. So if people are interested in that list, then you'll find that was my last post on my profile. But it is the people, or it is the organisation. So there's never just one culture. There's multiple cultures in organisations, and they all fight for attention. But the ones that are best suited to this, I'll just give you some of the, it's not going to be an exhaustive list, but it's a good feel. The first is that they are very fair and equitable. So they
Mhm.
look for opportunities, not just at leadership level. These organisations know that to have a successful, impactful organisation that will continue to grow, you need to share the learning and development opportunities across the board. Okay, not just at leadership level. That's a whole other discussion. But there's so many issues and risks with only focusing on leadership development. But that's a discussion for another day. Yeah. So they are
Yeah.
fair and generous. They are generous with the opportunities. They have an expectation that when people learn something, that it will be embedded back into the organisation to benefit not just that person, but other people. They're curious too, Shaq. There's a natural curiosity, right? So they know, hey, and they're adult and mature enough to understand that this isn't working here, right? Like we need to do something about this. So they're curious, but they're also ambitious, but responsibly so. So this is a socially responsible model. The people that invest in this and their people and actually and making that DNA shift, right? Because it is. This is not just a safe little soft training. This is you're looking at changing the DNA, and that's how a client described the experience of this work. But definitely curious, ambitious, make space and time for experimentation. That's critical
Exactly.
to that. We're going to talk about this, but that is key. So they know this isn't just about get some skills, off you go. They know that they need to create those conditions, and they do, that we work together to be able to build that environment where we're playing and we're experimenting. And they own the states. They own them. And they invest in, like you said, turning it into something that can be constructive. So that's not an exhaustive list, but that gives you an idea of
Mhm.
how the types of organisations, and they want to be proper, true, impactful leaders and organisations. And they're willing to do the work to do that. And they know, as we said, that's that common saying, what got you here won't get you there. And they embrace that. So, yeah, I would say that there's also a level of courage around that work as well.
Exactly. Wow, that's so insightful, Ali. And I just wanted to ask you out of curiosity, you work all over the world globally, or
Yes.
do you work locally, or do you
Oh, well,
work
look, I mean, let's be honest. When you're based in Australia, I mean, you have to be able to have the process and the design and the resources to be able to work remote. So for me, since 2017, well before the pandemic hit, I started to do a lot of work across Australia remote, some in situ, but not always. It's not always feasible to fly all over the world or fly all over the country. So since 2017, I've been successfully delivering the work remote where possible. But yeah, and it's worked particularly well, right? So once you get the system and the processes and the content and the machinations right, you don't have to be in situ. So that's the beauty of this, is the accessibility of it. But yeah, look, hey, New York City is my favourite place in the world. So hit me up. I'll come over there, even though with the latest election, but we won't go there. But I'm always, yeah, my work is accessible, and it needs to be. Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't have a business. But yeah, remote's a different different experience, but one that's still quality.
Okay. Okay. And you've worked, I was doing my research before
Mm.
this session, to be very honest with you, and I found out one thing in particular, and I was so amazed. And, I was so taken aback, and I was amazed that you're working with 200 brands.
Mm.
You have worked with 200 brands till now?
Yeah. I've worked, so yes, I have. I mean, I've been working pretty consistently for, well, God, about 16 years, right? So
Okay.
probably even bigger than that is the fact that I've worked ongoing with over 2,000 people, right? Like not just delivered a 1 hour workshop to people, but have worked with over 2,000 people. Yeah, pretty intimately. So it's been a journey, and it's like I said, it's been I've been lucky. I don't know luck, but fortunate to have that diversity of brand. But like I said, with that theme, but yeah, no, it's and as I said, not because of the country that I live in, not face to face. In some really remote, quite complex environments. Shaq.
I understand. And I love how you are reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. And also, I think it's such a game changer. It's such a game changer when leaders can build a culture where tough challenges are seen not as barriers, but
Go
as
on.
steps towards growth and innovation. It sounds like it all starts with creating a safe place where learning from mistakes is encouraged. That is
Absolutely.
what.
And if I can just come to that, just off of that, there is a piece of work that's done very early on, and it makes us get very comfortable with talking about things beyond success. And it's a piece of work that we do in stage one of the circular workplace, and it's an innovation capability review. So it's like a holistic risk assessment, but on creative entrepreneurial steroids. And it's linked back into the project outcomes and linked back into the broader purpose of the organisation. And the team with leaders actually co-design that. I'm facilitating the process, but they own it, right? And right away, we start to build that environment where we're talking. And the beauty of this, and I think this is important to note, is that we're not just saying, oh, what's wrong? Because that's what tends to happen, right? And it's not managed very well. It never tends to land anywhere. But here, we're actually embedding it back into roles, embedding it back into the broader picture and the objectives. And we start to take, as I said, the stigma out of the gaps and the threats and the risk, and it just becomes part of how we work. And a lot happens in stage one of that approach, but that innovation capability review is like our roadmap. And there's quite a lot of work behind that. But the team begins to shift their perspective. We talk about resilience a lot, right? And to the point
Exactly.
where I'm almost like I'm becoming numb to it. Now, I don't know how other people feel, right? But that it is, we want people to be resilient, but we're not creating the opportunities in our workplace. And I'm not talking about wellbeing programs. There's a role for that. But I'm actually saying building proper, robust talent every day for people to, like you said, shift their perspective around challenges and problems. And that's an actual art. That's a learnt process. You have to acquire that, and you have to be able to do it, right? And so for me, I think if we're talking resilience, that's a big topic. But I do think the resilience has only come from creating those environments where we're having productive, respectful discussion around those areas that we've been sort of, led to believe that you don't go there, but you can't be entrepreneurial and forward thinking if you don't go there. That's the reality of
it. Absolutely. And that's very, very insightful. And also, people who are listening to us, if you are if you are having any questions and if you want to engage with Ali right now, you can put down your questions in the comments and we will try our best to answer them all. And also try to be very vocal about your doubts, because we are here to answer all your doubts right now. So Ali, I see that. I mean, say this is such an insightful thinking, and this is such insightful knowledge which you're sharing with us today. Have you ever thought of writing a book or creating a course? To be very honest, I see most of my guests they have books, they have created courses. Some of them have created LinkedIn instruct. They are LinkedIn instructors, and they have created courses on LinkedIn. So I just wanted to ask you, out of curiosity, uh, do you have any plans writing a book or creating a course for
Yeah,
people?
well, yeah, I do. Well, I mean, I do have. When you go on the website, there are courses that have already been produced, so people can actually access that. So there's masterclasses, and then there's full-fledged, professionally produced courses that sit on their own platform. So I've done that, and people can access that. I've had a lot of people say to me, "Would you write? Do you want to write a book? Would you write a book?" And I think everyone out there will get a feel for this, is that you have to be so particular of where you're putting energy. And for me, I think there is, because of the material and the IP that I have, I would probably be able to do that relatively. I mean, it's never easy, but there is a lot of intel and IP that I can draw from. But I think for me at the moment, I think just, a lot of people say you should do that. I think I need to, for me at the moment, there's some other goals that I have for me in the business, where, I need to put that energy. But the courses are absolutely being produced, and you'll find them online as well too. So yeah, you can access that. But for me, yeah, there's different levels to be able to access it. But I think at the moment it's basically having a profile, building awareness of different thinking, and working with those brands that are willing to take that next step and create a very different type of workplace with their people. So yeah, you've got to find the right path for you, don't you? And where you're at.
Exactly, exactly. And also, I wanted to ask you one more question before we move further with the session. Can I ask you this one question I have? Just a small question I've got. Okay. Um, your approach and your instructions, can they be used by students as well who are in learning, or in universities or college students? Can they also use the same approach which you are giving for organizations? Right now you
Mm-hmm.
give all these instructions for people
Yes,
who are working in the organizations. Can it be also used by students for their learning purposes?
it can. Yeah, and of course it depends on their circumstance and what they're studying. But a lot of the lessons are also very relevant to students that are planning their own career and their own brand, and how they want to show up differently in that. So, yeah, I've done a lot of work with universities as well too in entrepreneurship. So I have worked with students. So funny you should ask that, Shaq. But yeah, I've done some work in the entrepreneurship space with universities around Australia. And so
Mhm.
elements that we're talking about, and very insightful of you, have actually been used successfully for those students who had to go on and compete and did very well using the theories and the insights and the approaches around this as well too. So not like I said, not everyone who's benefited from this is always in organisations. They come from different backgrounds, and that's the beauty of it, is that it's repeatable, but it's
Mhm.
also adaptable too, right? And that's important. It's not just one industry.
When I'm saying students, I mean I have got some connections, got some friends on LinkedIn uh, who are PhD scholars.
Mhm.
They always try to write. I mean, say in PhD, what happens is they try to write the thesis and everything. Can I refer them to you
Mm.
for research?
Yes, yes. Ah! We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay,
I'm
that's
like I said,
completely.
if I have capacity, I'm always happy to share my, some knowledge and intel, Shaq. I think, if you've got knowledge and you're able to be able to share that, I think that's important. So yeah, you let me know. I'll see. If I'm around, I'm happy.
Sure. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And as you have said, offline. Okay,
Sounds good.
so let's move further with the
Sure,
session.
sure.
And the next thing which I wanted to ask you is, in the unique aspect of the circular workplace.
Mhm.
There is one unique aspect of this circular workplace which you've created is it emphasizes on capturing and applying wisdom in real time.
Mm,
Could you
mm.
share some practical solutions that leaders can use to make sure valuable knowledge is consistently captured and
Yeah.
applied within teams?
Yeah, sure. So I'm obviously prepared before we showed up today, and there's a lot of different elements, but there's three key elements that I want to spend some time working on around this that's very practical that have proved successful that I wanted to share with people. And I think it really is important, Shaq, that and this is sitting on my featured section on LinkedIn, so you'll be able to download the 2-page document and probably see it a little bit better. But there are 4 parts to it. Yep. So if we want to can we just bring it up, and I'll just get you to move it. I know it doesn't sit perfectly on the screen, but that's okay. If we can just bring up that circular workplace, and I'll just give a very
Sure.
brief overview. So as I said, you'll see it better on featured section, but it doesn't matter. So the first section is plan and build, right? So this is where we're actually doing a lot of that research and a lot of the thinking around the gaps and threats and the risk, and creating a bit of certainly a plan of attack around that. Yeah. We then have the
Yep.
second part, which is the experimental phase. So from the innovation capability review, which is happening in stage 1, we're identifying, and people are self-identifying, which is important, where their capability gaps are and where the opportunities are to build that. And so in number 2, we've built the L&D piece, we've built the capability, and now people are actually trialing those skills back out into the workplace and putting some supportive heat on them to see how they're actually faring, and that's critical. And so then we come back down to the debrief, and the debrief is we're going to talk about 3 and 4 here, but the debrief is really where we're capturing and reflecting on what's been delivered and how it's been delivered, right? And what we've learned through that. So let me come here and take you through the 3 key actions that have proven to be very successful in that part that allows us to capture that wisdom. So the first thing we need to do as leaders is we need to move from traditional meetings to idea sessions. Now, at the moment, hrmonline.com.au in 2003 noted that the average Australian employee loses 31 hours a month due to unproductive meetings. Now, that is quite incredible. Yeah, we go on about productivity, but we are losing 31 hours a month due to meetings that are wasteful, useless, not relevant, and can never get back again. Now, we have to get real about that. So I said, let's start to move from traditional dusty meetings and move to idea sessions. And idea sessions are fair and equitable spaces where the leaders, the managers, and the team actually reflect on the following things. And I'm going to take you through this. The first one is key wins, right? So these will normally happen maybe once a month, could be every 2 weeks. It depends on what's happening in the organisation and what needs to be delivered from a project perspective. But idea sessions focus on key wins, can be large, it can be small. Then challenges, what's happening, right? So what are the solutions? What are we facing? The next point's really important, something that didn't go to plan. So was there something that you did that didn't work out how you thought? And that's where we start to capture, and what were the lessons learned and the wisdom that we can share. And the beauty about this is that we're not just looking at how you can benefit from it because you experienced it, but how do you want to share that with other people in the team and with the organisation? Who else can benefit from that? And that's really, really important because that means then that the person's owning it, so there's self-reflection around that, and then they're owning how they're going to actually take that out there to capture it, but to use it as well too. And so idea sessions are then about, okay, how do we take those, and I'm going to go there in a minute, how do we take the lessons learned and the wisdom from what didn't go right? Now, we'll talk about what did go right, but we know that the goal is in shifting what didn't go right. And then we look at where the gaps and the threats and the risks are, the roadblocks are, being able to capture that wisdom and being able to implement it. So idea sessions, that's a very quick sort of overview, takes people into a different headspace, yeah? And it also rewires and creates different connections. So at the moment in traditional meetings, you find that leaders and certain people do all the talking. It's not particularly two-way. It's not particularly collaborative, right? It's a lot of, and we can talk why meetings don't work, but a lot of the same old topics. A lot of things never get done. People keep coming back, and they're not developing themselves, right? So the beauty of this is because the way that it's been designed is that we're building capability in the ability to think, craft a story, to reflect, to think at another level, to pitch ideas. So you can see through the very nature of this, it achieves many different outcomes and impacts through one action. And that's the beauty of the work, is that it's never just about one outcome. It's got to be about as many relevant outcomes and impacts as possible. So I'll keep, you interject as you want, if not, I'll keep going, right? So number one, move from traditional meetings to connected creative idea session. The next thing is taking the learnings, the insights and the wisdom from those idea sessions and linking them back into roles. So everyone that attends that idea session has their own plan of attack that they have owned, that they will be delivering on. So, the role is not disconnected from what happens in those idea sessions, and that's particularly important. And every month, everyone, the leader included, the name suggests leaders, yes, leaders lead, they kick off and work through what that plan has achieved before we move forward. Too often in meetings, we're moving forward onto other items and we haven't even addressed what's still on, still in the plan. So the third action is changing how we look at performance reviews. Yeah. And so once again, big topic, a whole other 10 podcasts in there. But what we're doing with those individual reviews and check-ins is that we're flipping the game here, Shaq. We're actually looking at a couple of key areas that I want to take people through. And those performance reviews are actually opportunities to design a personalised approach to learning and development, right? So there's so much to say in this space, and I'm mindful of the time we've got. But what we do is, once we've started to embed those idea sessions and people have had opportunity to start to, play and capture that wisdom and undertake those actions, we can then actually reflect on a couple of key areas. And the first one is, how have team idea sessions been implemented at individual role levels, right? So this is a two-way discussion. So the leader or the manager is coming together with each person and they're sitting down and they're saying, how did that work for you? Is that working for you? What have been some of the major benefits? And we're actually then identifying through that experience where the lessons have been, where are we capturing the wisdom? And also too, checking back in again. Are we using those lessons learned and wisdom to evolve this role as well? Now remember, the only way we're going to get proper buy-in and development, be it commercial and human growth, is that we involve the person delivering the role. They have to be co-designing their own personalised learning and development plans and their own role. So when the leader and the manager is sitting down at these performance reviews, they're a very different experience. So the person is sitting and having really honest, insightful, robust discussions around those lessons learned and the wisdom, and understanding how they want to shape that role moving forward. And as I said, we're making sure that that wisdom and that lessons learned is not just about the role and the plan, the individual learning plan. We're using it to then feed it back into the project. So can you see how it's actually captured across a number of different levels, but that utilising wisdom in part 4 is critical. There's other tactics, but there's some of the 3 that we start with that start to move the dial. And as you'll see, and as I've explained it, we're capturing it by making sure that we're never just moving forward. We are coming back to reflect and seeing how we can actually utilise those lessons learned and those experiences in that role to continue to shape that role, to continue to guide that person in their own development moving forward, and how that
Exactly.
project's going to be delivered moving forward too. So, yeah, there's many, many different ways.
Exactly. And that's very insightful to know that. Awesome. That's brilliant. And
There's a
it's
lot in that,
easy.
Shaq. I'm sorry.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, Ali. It's easy to forget how much valuable knowledge slips through the cracks in fast-paced environments, you know. So having a system in place to capture that wisdom is essential. Is very essential. I think that. And I especially appreciate how you have emphasized that it's not just about capturing knowledge, but actually making it accessible and usable for future projects.
Correct. Correct. So, you know, that's a really good point that you make, is that we have so many learning leads in how we're delivering business, right? And how we're designing traditional L&D. And that, for, you know, therefore, like you said, it's just falling out. It's falling out of the system, where we need to be able to embed it back in, hence the name, the circular workplace. We need to be able to repurpose it. And that's the beauty of this work, is that the learnings are not time limited. And I just want to give an example. True story. Last Friday, I had a client call me that I did work with back in 2017, 2018. And we've kept in touch and done more work. But she called me out of the blue on Friday and said, I just wanted to tell you and thank you that I'm so glad we did that work back then, because it set us up to be in such a different place now. And they are now really, their whole business is being redesigned, and they're now seeing that people can step into roles that they never would have been able to before, right? And respond to opportunity that they never would have had the capacity to, right? But they've taken the learnings in this experience and made it and molded it to what they need. And that's the beauty of this learning and this capability, rather than, and I will say this because I do deliver technical skill too, right? I do deliver accredited training here in Australia. So I'm coming from an informed point of view. But those technical skills, they're very much in a box, right? This is what you learn. This is how you deliver it. It's against a unit of competency. There isn't much light and shade around how you're going to take that to respond to different situations. And so I just wanted to share that example because, it's like I said, there's lots of evidence around it, but that tells me that this is a durable approach.
Yeah,
And that's why I always designed it to be that way.
exactly. And yes, that's a durable approach. I totally agree with that. And you have put great points here. So Ali, let's shift some gears slightly. Let's
Sure.
talk about skill development. Okay, you have worked with hundreds of organizations to enhance their teams.
Mm.
Okay, entrepreneurial, critical, and creative thinking. What are some of the common gaps you see in these areas, and how can leaders start addressing them to ensure ongoing growth and adaptability?
Mm. Well, okay, let's go back where you're saying where are the gaps. And I'm not being smart when I say this. We don't normally design organisations for those very skills, right? For those talents, those ways of thinking. So they just don't tend to exist. There's not like there's a gap. It's just not there, Shaq. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
we don't tend to create organisations where we're wanting people to really think and do different, right? So it's not even just about the skills piece. It's about designing the organisation differently to be able to
Mhm.
make that part of the reality, right? So for me, it's the leaders, if they want their people to do that and to be able to build that capability, then you need to design the workplace day to day to do that, you know? So you need to make sure that you are creating space and time for people to not only learn that by working with different providers like myself, but actually give them the space and make it part of the role. Yeah, make it something that's valued and measurable, and allow people to trial and play and make mistakes, because you have to. Sometimes you will. You know that. The
Okay.
first time you did a live discussion, or I remember the first time I would have written a post. It's certainly not now. It's not the knowledge and the skill that I've got now. But people have to be able to be given that space and that trust to be able to do that. So I think
Exactly.
that ability to come forward, and I've given you some good examples today where people are expected to, but they're supported in it, to have a point of view and to be able to, shape that and communicate it in a way that's got impact. So, like I said, create them. That's why I said those examples that I gave. Start with those idea sessions. Start small, because I know it's got to be done incrementally. You can't just go from A to Z, right? You have to be able to start small. So these are things that are communicated, have buy-in from people, and you test it bit by bit. But as I said, I've found that we haven't designed the organisations to make people be able to have that, and we haven't rewarded it. So we need to reward it. If we want something to be different, then we need to design our roles to do that, and we need to provide the support, the environment, the ongoing learning. And it is ongoing. It's not just one set and forget, but the ongoing learning for people to actually trial that. And as I said, I love that bit, because that is not where we start. We start at times very much not there at all. And that's that's why I love this work. It's challenging. It stretches all of us, but it's incredibly satisfying, right? When you keep in touch with people, and I do, I know where they are, I know what they're doing, I know what they're achieving, and to know that you've played a part where they own it, right? I come in and facilitate that, but they own it. They own the direction. They own those ideas. It's huge, Jack. Yeah.
What, out of curiosity again, I have a question of my own.
Sure.
Uh, you know, can we call you a learning coach? That title suits you very much.
Yeah,
Don't you
no, it
think?
does. No, it does. Well, I mean, for me too. Look, I've had lots of. I think when you're delivering L&D, learning and development, in a way that's got impact, there's so many different hats that you wear, right? So there is a coaching element. There's a facilitator. So I'll tend to use facilitator rather than trainer. A lot of people still use trainer, and that's okay. But for me, I don't tend to in my work, because it's not. I don't just train. I mean, so yeah. And then there's a coaching and mentoring aspect, right? So there's so many different elements, because you are having, you'll facilitate, if we just talk about the model, you facilitate the work, right? The learning, the knowledge, the skill. But then you have those discussions one-on-one, right? So you have those elements where you are coaching, you are being a sounding board, you are nurturing someone in a way that allows them to fully use that. And let's be real too, right? People are not just their job role. We are complex beings, and so you also have some of those other elements where you are the certainly not the expert in that space, because that requires professionals in that area. But we are looking at their own practice. But yeah, so lots of probably, it would be hard to give you the stats, but look, I've probably worked certainly well over 1,000 people individually. Yeah, definitely. And then the rest would be a mix of teams. So a lot of my work has been a lovely combination, of that. And then, like I said, I'm back in the room as well too, a couple of days, redesigning other material for other people, but also delivering those accredited skills, right? So I sit in some different, which is good, right? Because it allows you to understand, the space. I've got different
I'm
hats, but they're all connected, Shaq.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying this subject. Is there a slot open? Is there a slot vacant in your company? Because I want to apply for that slot, and I want to
Or do
learn
you want to
this.
come and work with me? Do you? Do you want to work with me, or be an employee, or work with me? What do you tell me what you want?
I want to start as an employee, because I have, I have to learn. I have to learn first. You know,
Jack's just taken over his own live here.
well,
Oh,
I can definitely see how uh, you know how filling those gaps could transform a team's ability to adapt and innovate. It's so true that skills like entrepreneurial and critical thinking aren't just useful, they are essential in a world that's constantly changing.
Mm,
As we have already discussed,
mm,
that we are seeing a huge revolution around us. And I wanted to really thank you for shedding light on how leaders can take that proactive step to build these
mm.
critical capabilities. Now, you know, as we are running out of time, I just wanted to ask you, can we see you one more time on the Shaq Show? Well, I have named my LinkedIn live sessions as Shaq Show.
I like the
so,
Shaq show. Yeah.
so will we get a chance to see you again on the Shaq Show?
You will have me on the Shaq show. I think we talked about maybe early in the new year. Yeah, where we can come down and because there's so much to unpack, right? Like I said, today is a taste, it's a feel, it's an intro, but I'll come back on the Shaq show. You'll have me back. Count me in.
So, sure, sure. I just wanted to let the audience know this is a very vast subject. Okay, this is a very vast subject. Say this is just the beginning. If this session,
Mm,
if you're listening to this session, this is just the beginning. You're just seeing the, just a superficial layer of a huge ocean of knowledge
mm,
which Ali is having. And we you know in a 60-minute session, it's impossible to uncover all the secrets, all the hidden gems which are in this ocean of knowledge. Say this is such a vast subject, it's impossible to cover all the things in a 60 minutes session. So if you're listening to this session, this is just the beginning. You will if you follow these series, you will come to know and you will learn so many new things which are going to help you in many ways in an organization. I just wanted to let my audience know about this. And yes, Ali is going to be back on the show with more things, unpacking all the knowledge which he's having. And before before we move further into the session, Ali, I have seen that you are a LinkedIn top voice. Now, as
yes.
a LinkedIn top voice, you have become a source of inspiration for so many, especially me
Thank you, Shaq.
and also people from my tribe. See, becoming a LinkedIn top voice is not, uh, it's not a small thing. It is a very big achievement. LinkedIn giving you that tag,
Mm,
it's a very big achievement. And many people are trying. Even I am trying. I'm a LinkedIn trainer from the past. I've been working with LinkedIn as a recruiter, as I've already told you. Are people who does not know me. I am a hardcore recruiter, and I've been working with LinkedIn for the past 10 years. But I'm still waiting for that badge, or I'm not sure if I'm not following the correct steps to reach that badge, or I'm still waiting for that badge. And for so many people, for so many other people also, they are just looking for answers how to
mm.
become this LinkedIn top voice. Could you share, if you say, I would kindly request, would you be kind enough to share a bit about your journey to
Sure,
becoming a top voice and any advice you have for others who want to make an impact and share their expertise on LinkedIn?
sure. Sure. Thank you, Shaq. And what I'll do, if people want to follow me and keep across what's going on, I've compiled a checklist, a list of what I'm going to go through. Yep. So people can just come back to it and nice and simple bullet points. But we'll share that when we put the link out to the recording. I'll also share that with people. All right. So, look, I think the first thing I want to say is that this is what's working for me. And look, I think there won't be probably any great surprises around this, but I'll share what is working for me. Everyone will be slightly different, but I think there are certain things when you're doing your research that sort of come up around how to show up in your best way, to if a top voice matters, what you can do to increase the likelihood of it. But as I said, there is no exact place you can go and say, this is what it is. So I'm just going to go through my journey, my trip. So I didn't become, I had a profile since 2013, right? And I didn't do a lot with it. And then last year I got serious about, starting to take my voice out into the world and sharing a different point of view that is proven and useful. So I started to create content, and I post at the moment 5 times a week. I will do the odd weekend post, but I try and have a break because it's a lot, right? And so I'm going to just go through some of the don'ts, some of the do's, and let's see where it falls. So I think the first thing is don't try and game the system, right? If you're in engagement pods and whatever, you need to get out of it, all right? Now, I have been serious since July posting and creating original content. I'll talk about that in the do's. But I've just started to see, and it's been relatively recent, where I'm starting to see, I always had very solid content in terms of comments. We'll talk about that on the do's. But only recently have I started to sort of hit comments, above 30 every time, or, likes, but they're not massive numbers, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But do not get yourself an engagement pod. You need to get out. All right, you need to, and this is what I'm saying, don't get obsessed with vanity metrics. I know it's not easy, right? When you're starting, you think, oh, I'm putting so much into this, and why aren't people liking it? And if I can just, if I just get involved in this, it's going to look good, but it's going to cost you, right? Like just get out of those pods, right? Don't try and game the algorithm. You're not going to win. No one knows how it works. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have times where you think that's going to go well and it doesn't. And then you have time to go, I don't know if this is going to fly, and it does. So what I will say is don't get distracted by that. And I know it's, people spend lots of money trying to understand it, right? I just make peace with it. I don't, I do the do's, and we'll go there in a minute. I don't understand it. It's not my place to understand it. No one really understands it. So just don't get obsessed with it. I'd even say too, don't get obsessed with going viral, right? You need to understand why you're going to go. What's the benefit of going viral, right? Lots of people I've spoken to have gone viral. It hasn't changed their life. It didn't bring lots of business to them, right? So thinking about why you're going viral, understand why you're doing it. I think that can be a distraction sometimes from actually doing the right stuff, and we'll go there in a minute. I've never had a post go viral. I think the most I've ever had was 25,000 impressions, really, right? So it's not, just get over the impressions, right? Stop rehashing other people's work. Okay, don't sound the same, right? And don't constantly repost. Sometimes, all you see is people reposting other people's posts, right? Like there's nothing, I just unfollow them. There's nothing exciting. And there's only so much brain space that people have, yeah? Don't keep repost. If you want to, I will repost certain things, right? But I'm really mindful of that. That's not a common thing for me. It's not how I want to show up. Don't have the same point of view as everyone else. You start to see it. Everyone will know. You'll see those, like quotes or comments about leadership, and you think, oh, not another one. Just don't give me another one, right? Don't expect quick wins. Don't expect quick wins. This is a marathon. I think Lynette Johnson, who knows her work, knows LinkedIn pretty well back and forth. She said, it's a marathon. It's not a race. And I think you have to recalibrate your expectations around it too, right? And don't be hard sell on people. I think they're saying 80% of what you're putting on LinkedIn needs to be what we're going to talk about in a minute, right? So really value-driven, unique, well-considered content. And 20% of the time, then you can start to, talk a bit more about, your work and sort of selling, however that sits right for you. But yeah, the hard sort of sell bit with not giving much isn't going to work. Yeah. Now, before I move on to the do's, is there any comment around the don'ts at all, Shaq, that you want to raise with?
I would say when it comes to LinkedIn, first and foremost, the number one thing is never use other people posts or try to copy other people post which has worked for them. It might not work for you. That is going to create credibility, and you
Correct.
won't understand the subject, first of all.
Yeah.
Not know the
Yeah.
subject, you just copied it and just put it on your feed. First of
Yeah.
all, that's very that's not morally correct.
Not
Second of
correct.
all, you won't be able to keep up with the subject, and you are going to kill your credibility. Second of
Yeah.
all, I would say never use engagement pods or automation tools on LinkedIn. See, LinkedIn has a very specific way of restricting your account without restricting you. That is called
Yeah.
shadow banning.
Correct.
Shadow,
Right.
yes,
Correct. Right. So yes, and you'll see it, right? And I know because I've seen it on other people, right? Their numbers and their engagement have dropped off, and I've said I haven't been shadow banned, and they probably have, right? It's not for me to comment, but no. So let me I'll go into the do's. Is that all right? And then I'll allow time because I know we're having a really robust discussion. So the do's I want to share with you is understand your motive and intent early for why you're here, right? What do you actually want to achieve? What do you want to get? What are you willing to give? Work that out very, very early. Move beyond the vanity metrics. I know we want people to love us. That's the human ego, okay? But don't be judging yourself on how many people are engaging. Look at look at the quality of the content of the comments, right? That is what I think is of particular interest, right? So for me, you know that I don't have like tons of, I've got over 3,000 followers now, right? That's been a very slow burn, but the people in my community are smart, kind, connected, and involved, right? And so the quality of the comment that I'm getting on my post are really, and I know they've been looked at by certain people that make decisions. I know that they're next level. I know the quality of them. I know the opportunities, and I know the thought that's gone into it. LinkedIn doesn't want people with posts that are like, great post, hey, well done. You know what I mean? Like they want real engagement. They want proper conversation. So you need to be writing content and creating connections that deliver, really inspired, deep thinking, comments that lead to discussions. That's what you've got to. I'd focus on that. That is something that I know I believe has helped me here. Be consistent and disciplined with your efforts, right? Don't be jumping in 50 different angles. Like, don't think like you said, Shaq, oh, that looks good, I'll jump on that, but that's not really my background. I've got really no idea. And then I'll show up for 5 days, 1 week, and then you won't see me for a month. No. Work out the cadence for you. Work out the frequency that is doable for you. Yeah. Work out also to understand LinkedIn. Now, this is what I think people are getting wrong. They're trying to work out the algorithm where they should actually be understanding where LinkedIn is now as a business. Yeah.
exactly.
What LinkedIn,
Yeah.
right? And I have actually studied and looked at interviews, and really, and I have to think there's a good person, Jason Pfeiffer in the US, has interviewed the decision, some of the key leaders in LinkedIn. I've looked at those podcasts and I've understood where they're coming and how do I add value, right? How do I benefit? But how do I move with, what the platform is wanting? Keep across those updates, right? Understand it from a business perspective, not an algorithm perspective that you will never understand. Create genuine content that you made a great point before that you can talk to. Yeah, so if you're challenged on it, you're going to be able to actually respond to it. Generously share your advice, right? Like no one's going to give you opportunity if they don't know you know what you're talking about and that you don't come from an evidence practice point of view. Engage actively, right? I schedule posts. I do because I'm just not around. The quality of the content I want to create, I can't make up on the fly, right? That's not me. So I schedule probably 99.9% of posts, all right? And the scheduling has done nothing to affect my engagement. My engagement's really only going up, right? So there's a lot of myths that we get told. I'll finish up because I know we're running out of time. Learn the craft of writing in your own voice. Come from the mind and come from the soul. But like you said, find your own style. And if LinkedIn is doing a content creator program in your country, sign up for it. I did that. I did that very early on. I applied for it and committed to that and took what I learned and started to use it. And that was noticed, I think, no doubt. And as I said, have a point of view, but be professional, right? Think about how you're going to show up. Because at the end of the day, Whatever you put out there is for people to see, right? We can now go to the comments section. You can see what people are commenting on. So you need to be, you alluded to it before, this is my closing point. I will send out a little checklist when we send the link out. You need to be squeaky clean. You need to be clean. You need to make sure that while you still come from that point of view, that anything you write could be held up truly up to public scrutiny, and that you won't feel and look back on that in a week's time and go, gee, I wish I didn't write that, because that's really not me as my best human.
Exactly. That's very insightful. That's very, very insightful. This is the road. I would want to say, if someone is looking to become a top voice, this is the road they have to take.
Mm.
They have to.
It doesn't guarantee it, but it increases your chances. Sorry, Shaq.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Sure. It definitely increases your chances, and also LinkedIn recognize people on the base of their education.
Correct.
Of their I mean, say, first of all, be honest. Whenever you're doing anything in the world, be very honest. Whatever you have, just let people know what you have really. Don't try to act. Don't try to copy others, or don't try to I does not want to use this a strong word, but don't try to cheat people.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That would be fair. That would be fair. And I think too, I just want to say that while I've only been serious on LinkedIn, for let's say a year and a bit, I have been practicing and learning and testing my craft for 18 years. So this is, while you might look at someone on LinkedIn, you need to understand the work that's gone in and the dedication to their own development and their own craft for many, many years before showing up here too, right? So that's important. We can't just look at the superficial sometimes.
Exactly. And also respect people who are real experts. I mean, say I would take Lennar's name, Lennare Johnston.
Yes.
I would take her name 1,000 times with respect, and I consider her as my teacher. I've learned so much from her, and I am a LinkedIn trainer, but I am nowhere compared to her. I consider her as my role model, as my teacher, and try to respect people, try to give them credit.
Correct.
To build that rapport with them.
That's a really good point, and I know, for me, I know that people are using people's work or are using illustrations. Right? I use people's illustrations when I get permission, and I always obviously tag them in it and say illustration courtesy of the talented whoever. I've seen it, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. As I said, it's plagiarism, right? That's what it is. It's plagiarism. So if you're going to use someone's work, ask them if you can use it. And if you are going to use it, depending on what it is, like an illustration, at least tag them. And if there's an issue, they will let you know. But please, great point, get your own ideas, get your own brain, find your own voice. You're not going to get opportunities or have any chance of being awarded anything if all you are is a carbon copy of someone else. It doesn't work.
Exactly. And I want to take this moment to promote one more thing before we wrap up this session.
Sure.
As people from all around the world would be watching this session live and also the replay. I've seen
yes, there's a few people that...
Yeah, and they are not ordinary people. They are owners, they are decision makers, and they are CEOs. To these people, I would say there are two books if you want to understand LinkedIn. One is Linkability, written by Lennare. The second is for the business pages, the company pages on LinkedIn. It's also written by Lennare. She is a co-author, and there is one more author to it. I'm not able to recall her name as well. That is Business Gold. If someone really wants to understand LinkedIn, then these two are the books where they need to.
Sorry, Shaq. The second author with Lennare is Michelle J. Raymond.
Exactly. Do you know her?
I know of her. We're connected in, but yeah, Michelle J, the letter J, Raymond, Raymond. That's, she's does some interesting work too. So yeah, like you said, work with the people that know their stuff. Try not to get distracted by the noise, Shaq.
Exactly. So that is going to make your road or your
Mm.
way very easy. It does not guarantee that you become the top voice overnight. Well, it happens for a
Commitment.
reason. Commitment, but but it will make your approach, or it make your path very easy if you follow these simple steps. Never ever on LinkedIn try to be negative. Do not confront with anyone. Confrontation is not liked by LinkedIn. If you go ahead and confront with anyone, or if you know have a you can have a disagreement. You
Correct.
can disagree with respectfully, but do not confront anyone. That is also one point I wanted to make here.
Yep.
So
Yep. Right.
as Ali has said, that this is the way you become the top voice. And being a top voice, why is it so important for people who are running a business on LinkedIn? See, becoming a top voice will give you the credible voice, the authenticity, you know, you know, the backing of LinkedIn. That that is a very great thing. When you approach people and tell them this is my product or this is my service, to make them believe that you are offering them a product which is genuine. This top voice badge is going to make a lot of difference when you approach your clients. So
Can I also just say something off the back of that, Shaq? And I know that we're over, but it's important. I've always looked at LinkedIn as my digital portfolio. And so for me, it's always been a place where I'll showcase my work, the outcomes, the impacts, the experiences, who I am, and how I show up. So looking at it more from, oh, I post something, oh my God, I've got to get X amount of people liking it. Coming from a digital portfolio perspective changes the game, right? You're much more considered in what you're creating. And really, ultimately, you do need to do that. As you said, it's a showcase, right? People go and snoop on you. As soon as you see anyone, you're on the LinkedIn profile, right? Like, what story does it tell? And again, that comes back to the motive and intent for you being on this platform in the first place as well, too.
exactly. And also to my audience, I mean, say I'm usually very jolly and I'm very happy and I'm jumping here and there and stuff like that. But for this session, I have made myself very calm and quiet, is because this is a very serious subject. This is a very serious subject, and we need to understand it with a calm and quiet mind. So I'm not jumping around as I always do. I'm not being very jolly and I'm not laughing. I usually do it to, just for a lighter moment. But this is a very interesting and a very important subject, especially for organizations. As Ali has also discussed, that this is only for small organizations or startups, or you know, it is
So
for
that
bigger.
are you talking about my work? Are we talking?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
no, no. So I've worked with global brands as well. So
Mhm.
my work is has been used with brands like Coca-Cola, and I've worked with universities, and then I've worked with smaller teams as well. So it's not bound by small startups. Certainly, they will benefit from it, but it's also for organisations, like major wine and alcohol global brands as well. So organisations, again, not determined by size, but more around what they're wanting to achieve as a business, both from that people and commercial growth perspective.
Exactly. So, Ali, thank you so much for encouraging all of us to find our voice and make a difference. And thank you so much for sharing your journey for the LinkedIn Top Voice. Ali, I thank you once again for joining us and sharing these transformative insights and on how we can better harness human wisdom in our workplaces. Your advice on de-risking brain drain, building a resilient culture, and fostering skill growth has been incredibly valuable. I know our audience has walked away with actionable ideas to apply in their own organizations. To everyone watching, thank you for being here with us. If you would like to learn more from Ali, be sure to connect with her on LinkedIn and check out Kickstart at kickstart.com. This is a website, kickstart.com. I'm going to put that website in the comments for all
Yeah,
of
thank
us.
you.
And also, Ali shares valuable insights in her monthly LinkedIn newsletter, The Experiment.
That is it.
Be be sure to follow that, which I highly recommend. Go ahead and get that subscription of the newsletter. It's absolutely free, and it's valuable knowledge, full of valuable knowledge. So
Thank you, Shaq.
with this, I want to thank you, Ali, so much for being here, and I would definitely want to see you once again on my show. And you know, I does not want to say goodbye, but it is time that I say goodbye to you. And
Thank you.
to my audience, I would say, to everyone watching, thank you for being here with us, and stay tuned for more LinkedIn live sessions where we continue exploring topics that drive real transformation in the workplace. Thank you all, and see you next time.